the Torahs, because that's what I came here to do. The room was orange, the windows filled with firelight. I grabbed 2 scrolls, one in each arm, and started to head toward my car, realizing I would never have enough time to come back. So I quickly ran and grabbed a cart from the kitchen and loaded the scrolls. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. One was missing. I realized that the one that was missing was down at a building down the road. I loaded them 7 onto the cart. I ran to my car, realizing that in the haste, I'd left the minivan at home and just had my Chevy Volt. Perhaps if I could just pause for a moment. But I did have the presence of mind to run to my office and grab family photos and, of course, my guitar. I didn't waste any time putting the Torah scrolls into the car and drove down to the next building. By the time I made it home, Allison and the kids were mostly ready for the evacuation. The passports were all collected, the medicines were stashed in the car, along with a copy of our will and our insurance policy. We grabbed as many photos as we could, especially the old ones that didn't exist in cyberspace. Wedding photos of our grandparents. Micah's first home run ball in Little League. The 2 stuffed pink froggies that Eliana had slept with every night since she was a little girl. And drawings of the kids. Being evacuated created some meaningful perspective for us. Most of all, it gave us a chance to notice what we took when we were in a hurry and what we didn't take. That was most striking, of course. That was most notable. The things of significant financial value we left behind. Even at the temple, I didn't grab the expensive artwork on the walls. So what did we take? What did we need? We needed our grandparents' pictures because they were a constant reminder of our own story that reaches before and after us. We needed Micah's home run ball because it held the stories of hundreds of swings and misses, of exasperation at the batting cages, of balls that hit the wall but didn't quite go over. It was the answer to our eldest son's lesson in perseverance. We needed Eliana's froggies because they tell us more about who she was as a little girl than anything else. Soft, pink, lots of hearts, and possibly losing that from our memories meant that she was growing up way too fast. Putting it together, the insurer might have given us a couple $100 for their loss, but to us, they meant everything. Think about what you would take in that moment. There were many others of our friends and family who were forced to evacuate in the past year due to fires, and many folks who have stories like this. And he says, I found myself pondering the intriguing truth. How is it, why is it, that we spend most of our lives obsessed with the accumulation and navigation of things that when push comes to shove actually don't matter much to us at all? And I'm not just talking about the material things, but for lack of a better word, the immaterial things. The petty slights, the jealousy, the politics, our anger over the traffic, fighting like hell to win the argument with someone we love, needing to be right. And as I read this on Facebook, I was really struck. I was struck by what does it mean when we have an opportunity to start anew each year. I'm going to try to hold it together with this one. What did I do? So this year my dad passed away. And it felt like standing at the base of a raging fire. I was faced with mortality, with my own mortality, with the mortality of the people that we all love. And when I would talk about it, I would say the lesson I learned most is that we can't take time with us. We can't get back time. And I was constantly reminded of a song by Tim McGraw that he wrote when his father had passed away from battling with cancer. And in it, it says, "Someday I hope you get the chance to live like you were dying." Okay, so now we're feeling a little morbid at this point. Not what I signed up for on a Saturday morning, Robin. So why? Why in this time of partying and setting goals and having fun on Wednesday am I talking like this? Well, apparently we as humans seem to need to feel threat to get down to what really matters. Which was really hard for me in the face of access. Because we have spent years building something that doesn't come from threat, but comes from strength. And yet we are programmed in our most reptilian brain to move fastest when we're the most scared, to run from the lion who's going to eat us, to get out of the way of the fire. But are we really afraid of dying? Like, was that really what was eating me up? And I realized that it wasn't. It wasn't about the fear of dying. It was about the fear of running out of time before we've built the lives we want to build. Before we've created the kind of meaning we want to create. We fear that if we're forced to evacuate this life in a hurry, we might be defined by the things that don't matter versus building the legacy that does. Time. We can't get back time. But I've been raised in access, so I can stop there. So how do I access it? How do we access it? How do we come from strength and leverage the power of our programmed response to fear? On access, we don't focus on what we can't get back. We focus on what we can give. And so I thought about time, and I changed my sentence. It's not about the time that I can't get back. It's about what we're going to do with the time that we have. How are we going to make a difference with our time? What's the life that we're going to create with our time? Where and how are we going to spend it? How are we going to shift our efforts enough to make more of what matters in our lives? So that if we have to leave this world, even in a hurry, we know that the right stuff is there to grab. So, the 2019 season of Access is upon us. And we have an opportunity for new beginnings. So as we spend the rest of our time together this morning, as we set our goals and our points, here's what I ask of you. Set your goals like the fire is raging and about to consume you. Think about the life you want to lead on purpose. What matters to you? What change do you want to make? Let the fire consume you and drive you, not in fear, but to leave the legacy that you want to create. That is what we're here to do, and that's what we're here to do together. So thank you for taking your time with us this morning to do it. For that, I'll invite my
So what's happening?
last day. Last day.
They're passing the last day.
Oh, that is.
Oh man, it's been a heck of a time. So a lot of things to go over. How many of you? So I get that. So who was not here on Wednesday? Okay, so you probably have heard some of the stuff that's going on, but one of the conversations is, and I'll take just a couple minutes and kind of do this recap as to what's going on is.
Oh, I didn't do my Vanna White.
You did. You got all emotional.
I know, I got all emotional. Wait, we need the Vanna White.
You want to tell the story?
But wait, there's more. So, for those of you who were here on Wednesday, it is the 2019 season of Access. For those of you who weren't here, we came to the realization, triggered by the fabulous Jewish New Year, that really our fiscal year in Access is from September to September. That's really how Brett built his business, and mostly because one of our most valuable and profitable and active months or quarter should be this last quarter, because everybody else slows down, and so we have an opportunity to speed up. So to that end, we are kicking off a contest. And the ultimate goal of the contest is that we have a sprint from now to the actual beginning of the calendar new year. And in the calendar new year, we're going to have a kickoff event to determine what our sprint is from that point on until convention. And the people who want to be in the room for that kickoff event are the people that we want to know are serious about building a business of whatever business you are building, right? Because this is still in Access. But we need movement, we need activity, we need action. And so, in order to get in that room, you need a pass. You totally want to be in that room. And what does that pass get you? This is my Vanna White moment. So we are going to have two events for the kickoff. The first is a family celebration at our house on January 1st. Big bouncy castle thing, food, drinks, fun, recognition. And then the very next day, very conveniently on Wednesday, we are going to have a meeting here that we're going to call our Welcome to the Locker Room, and we are going to plan out the next 6 months for how we are going to crush convention, right? Because we have to crush convention to prove access. So you have two types of pass options. Your first one is the VIP pass. And wait, you must be wondering what comes with the VIP pass.
Bobby, what comes with the VIP pass?
Well, I'm so glad you asked. For the VIP pass, we said, yeah, thanks, Sue. Okay, so you get access to the kickoff party and planning sessions. Most importantly, you get a team kickoff shot class. Woo! Which means there might be something in it. You get a team access convention lanyard. Who's planning to go to convention? Everybody raise your hand. It's good. And so you'll have your very own made team access Primerica lanyard to show off at convention. Are you ready for this? Now, this is probably one of the most important ones. This is where Kristen's going to be like, wait, you really got to pull this off. Your kids eat first. Because you know how mad that mama's going to be when, like, a bunch of people stand in front of her and she's got little kids and she's got to wait in line. We just don't want that to happen.
So if you don't make kids, can your husband eat first?
I think that's absolutely. And you know what? Let me tell you, that man is really going to be pissed off if he can't eat first. We got the bouncy house going and bottomless margaritas, beer and soda. Now, we also want to know that for some folks who don't make it to the VIP, we also will have a general admission pass, of course. And with the general admission pass, you will get access to the events. You will still get your convention lanyard. You get the bouncy house and the bottomless margaritas, but your kids and your spouses will eat last. Bum, 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 and you want your shot glass, so totally want to hit the VIP. We also created a category for shooting stars. Shooting stars are anyone who comes into the business after last Wednesday, because we want to give them their own kind of set of opportunities to be in the room where it happens. So, how do you get a pass? You're dying to know. So, who else wasn't here Wednesday? Don't you want to know how you can get a pass? Yes, I do. And yes, my kids need to eat first. Great. Okay. So, how do you make the kickoff team? If you want to be VIP, you need to score 6 points by November 1st. Anyone who knows football, 6 points should not be lost on you. I wanted to get the 2-point conversion. I was ruled out. So y'all better hit those 6 points. General admission, score 6 points by December 31st. Shooting star VIP, we're giving those shooting stars, those new folks in our business, all the way to December 31st. And if you have a shooting star, if they finish their hours and quizzes by December 31st, they get to be in the room where it happens, right? We want to encourage folks. Now, this is about building activity and showing that you're serious about building a business. What we know is if you have a shooting star that finishes these hours and quizzes, you are engaged with them. How do I get points? Here's how you score. 1 point each. Every time you turn in an IBA, you get a point. Every time someone on your team passes their life exam and gets coded, you get a point. For each license exam you pass, you personally pass, if you have any left, you get a point. Each time you lock in advance, each time you sell insurance to a family, you get a point. And each time you gather assets of $25,000 or more per family, so this is not like 3 accounts and 1 family counts as 3 points, you get a point. Now, some people might be like, oh my God, 6 points, how am I ever going to do that? But my husband on Wednesday easily demonstrated how with 1 new recruit, you could get 4 to 6 points basically, right? So between their IBA and their code and selling them insurance and picking up assets, right? That's already 4 points, 1 new recruit. So as I said on Wednesday, Primerica contests are designed to be lost for the most part if you're truly engaged.
1.
What?
They're designed to be 1.
Sorry, designed to be won. Designed not to be lost. Designed to be won if you're truly engaged. That is the point of this as well, right? If you are truly engaged, that won't be an issue to hit. There are folks in this room who might be saying, I don't want to just be engaged. I'm going to be at that party, number 1. And so I'm actually going for 30 points. I'm going for 20 points, right? Wherever you are, we will meet you when you're more intense. And so, and because we're Access, each of the RVPs are building their own team goals because we want to be able to support each other. This is not one for all and all for one. This is we can do more together than we can apart. And so we're letting the games begin. So that is the contest on the table. We encourage everybody who wants to participate to participate. It's going to be a fun room to be in, and we're going to spend the rest of today, for the most part, talking about what are the goals, how are you going to set your points. Some people who are really focused on assets might say, I'm going to do all my points here. Probably not all of them, but you might. Some folks might say, I'm really focused on building my team right now. I'm going to go here, and some folks, are going to kind of look at balance, and we'll help you figure that out based on the kind of business you've been focused on building and access. Questions? Okay, now you can come.
It's funny. I hadn't even thought about this, but wait a second, because he's saying this, and he's like, what is LIA, right? So we've got lock-in advances, but he was like, and it was perfect, because LIA is lock-in advances, but it's also life insurance application, which happens to work out incredibly well for us.
Isn't that nice?
I thought that was funny. I was like, huh. So, very, very, very excited. And the goal of this, right, and this is kind of the understanding of where things are, is we have spent a tremendous amount of time learning, and we want you to continue to learn, right? Learning is a skill, and it's incredibly valuable in terms of where things are. And it's time that we transition from just learning to actively and intentionally doing, right? And so that's this process. And we are going to oversteer to this conversation. To like over the next 90 days, you're going to be like, I know, right? Because there's literally nothing more important than we can do than every time we talk, is we're talking about this. We're keeping this in the forefront of conversations because you and I want to learn, how do you keep yourself focused? How do you talk about it to other people? How are you engaging it with your peers, right? This is the type of thing that becomes incredibly important. And so hopefully you guys all enjoy that, and we'll go from there. Now, how many of you, just by show of hands, plan on attending this, just so that I know right now, right? Just sort of go through. Okay, so here's what we've got. You see our little board, our little wall back there with the kickoff team and these white things. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to pass these around. What this is this is a sheet where you get to put your name up here in the corner, if you choose to. And what this is you get to take a little bit of time, and we'll do this by the end of the day, but you get to decide for the rest of November, for the rest of September, what is your goal, right? An IBA, a code, a license, a life insurance application, right? $25,000 in assets. What are the goals between now and the end of September? It is okay if you don't have anyone that's turned in their IBA. Are they going to get a code this month? No. So what's that number going to be? Zero. That is an okay number to put down. Part of this is about maturity. It's about learning, going, and understanding, right? It's about being able to say, here's what I'm going to do, and here's where we're going to create, and here's what we're going to fight for, right? There's a maturity and understanding of that. Does that make sense? Now, I felt really uncomfortable with this in the beginning, right? I went around and like, what do we do? But for the longest time, I used to stay and say, okay, districts leaders, please stand up. Tell me where you're at, where you're going to finish, right? Part of life, part of being a professional in business is to be able to give language to what you're going to do, publicly confess it, and then go get it, right? There's right? The E in WIDE is execute with accountability and purpose, right? Accountability is that opportunity. So we are going to start introducing this wonderful emotional experience into this environment because it is how we get past where we are. Your ears start itching, huh? Start getting a little nervous and your ears start itching. So one of the things, so we'll go through and then okay. So what happens is Tony's going to get a choice to write Tony and Wendy here. You don't have to. You don't have to, but you can. And if you do, then you'll fill these out. At the end of the day, what we're going to do is we're going to take these pieces of paper and we're going to put them on the back of the wall. And then every Wednesday, we're going to stay and we're going to go, hey, okay, so since Saturday made something happen? And then people will be able to stand, they'll be able to say what they did, and then we'll give them a pen, and they'll be able to go back, and they'll be able to mark their little number that said, oh, what did I do? Oh, I picked up an IBA, 1, 2. And then at the end of the month, we'll be able to tally. And then in October, we'll start with what are the goals for the month, and then what were the results during the month, and we'll tally it. And so every Wednesday and every Saturday, we have an opportunity to be able to take some time for everybody in the room to be able to acknowledge the growth process. Now, this can be really fun. This can suck if week after week, meeting after meeting, we ask, hey, did anyone, and no one comes up, right? And that can happen. That's a risk that we're taking. And if after 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, nothing's happened, this contest is going to start to suck. And we as an organization have to decide if we're going to let that happen, if we're going to make this a priority, if we're going to help purposefully shift the culture to a growth principle, to an accomplishment of results. That is a culture that we as an organization have an opportunity to embrace. We are ready to do that. But it doesn't matter if we don't do it. Does that make sense? This is a tremendous, right? I've been in this business a long time. I understand how sad things can get if there aren't a group of people that are embracing the process. It's sad. And it's challenging. And but here's the deal. There's no way to get through this except to get through it. At some point, we have to be willing to embrace the responsibility of play. As a group, as an organization. 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 20, right? The culture creates. Sooner or later, we're going to have to figure this out. Well, I'd rather figure it out over the next 90 days so that come January, we're actually ready to run than try to figure it out in January when we're actually trying to put numbers on the board for what we're doing.
So is that like a hash mark? So for instance, under assets, you're saying assets over 25,000.
Yeah.
So would be one.
Would one? Yeah.
2 cases of over 25,000 would be 2.
Correct.
And then also it's with your code number.
Yes.
Not team.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, what this does, so we build the tracking. So this will be the public, and then I will hand out your own personal so that you can take home, so that you've got it right with you. Now, the other fun thing about this is if you have people on your team, right, it allows Wade, this is Wade's piece of paper that says, right, so here's Wade's numbers that he's got the ability to do. But then he has the ability to say, well, Melissa wants to do this, and Dorinda wants to do this, and Sean wants to do this, and Ken wants to do this. And so now all of a sudden you get to go start talking through, right? What are the tallies, right? So you get to keep in front of you where your team is. So Melissa's does 3 this month, right? Click, click, click. Now you know that you're 3. So it's an opportunity for you, for all of us, to either not have people on their team and be frustrated with this piece of paper and be like, well, I only need the top. No, you actually need the bottom. Because that's the business. And we need to confront some of our emotions, right? We need to understand that time matters. And so you'll be able to drive your personal and your team. Because one of the questions is, who's the first to get qualified? That's something that we'll probably celebrate. Who has the most points? That's probably something we'll celebrate. Who has the most people on their team that qualify? Now I got a question. Out of those 3 categories, which one do you think is the most important? Most team? Why? If you can do it, you can make money. If you can teach someone to do it, you can be profitable. You can teach someone to teach it, you can get free. Free. Everything we do is based on this. Everything. Everything we do. Everything we do is on this. This is what Access is about. Every language, every conversation, every tool. If you think this is about you being king or queen for a day, that's fine, you can do that. You can be the biggest thing that's ever been. But then you'll always have to be. The more we can build the system so that other people can do it and teach other people to do it, the more freedom. The ability, what you want, with whom you want, any fashion style you want, how big you want to be. You want to be the biggest this company's ever seen? Fantastic. You want to make enough money to disappear? Fantastic. The business, the systems put together to be able to run. You want to build a business that your kids take over? Fantastic. Everything we do, you need to know this. This has to be at the top of your brain because it drives everything. And it allows you to confront your limitations. It allows you to confront your insecurities. It allows you to confront the things that you struggle with. Because you could ask yourself, am I doing this for me? Am I doing this to teach someone, or am I getting myself to say to master so someone else can drive and teach? And there's no right or wrong answer. Every one of these are fine. Just every one of them should be done on purpose. Make sense? Yes. So, very, 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 very excited. All right, so let's spend a little bit of time talking about how you set these goals before we count these out so that we got these. Okay, so let's hand these out. Pass it back on. So, this becomes, now this is, all of these are inevitable results, not objectives. This is the first really critical component. So some of this is going to potentially be mind bending because we're going to talk a lot about results. But the results need to be inevitable, not objectives. Why? Can I control what house I walk into? Can I control, so let me phrase it. Yes, I can actually control what house I walk into.
Legally.
Can I control
Legally.
the assets or situation the people are in the house that I walk into?
No.
No. I can walk into a beautiful house of people that are about to declare bankruptcy. I can walk into a shithole of people that are sleeping on a couple $1 million. Right? I have no idea what the dynamics are in the home. All I can do is get me in the home. And so the results become inevitable based on activity. Right? There are formulas over the next 3 to 6 months that we are going to get really good at. Right? I need to talk to X number of people to get Y activity. Right? It used to be, I talk to 12 people a day, I get 3 to 4 good numbers. Sue would talk to 12 people a day and get 13 good numbers. No joke. So dramatically better at retail prospecting. Dramatically better. Well, that's not fair. Do you know how many times in my entire career I ever said or thought that that factor wasn't fair? Ever? 0. I suck at a couple things. Lack of perspective is not one of them. I have no problem with this. Because we teach our 3-year-olds. Literally the conversation yesterday, last night at dinner, with our 3-year-old twins was, we should probably get familiarized with the fact that life isn't fair. We have the conversation with our 3-year-olds that life isn't fair. I'm not going to get caught up on fair. Y'all with me? Numbers and factors are simply personal. Now, can you increase your skill? Sure. Can you get better? Of course. But fairness is not the equation. Well, but I need to get, if I get X number of phone numbers, I can get Y number of appointments. It's just, well, so if I need 10 numbers to get on 1 appointment, then I have to go retail prospecting for 3 days to get 1 appointment. If Sue's got to get 10 to get 1, she gets an appointment every day. Well, how do I get an appointment every day? Well, I better talk to more people. It's just a factor. I just have to know, Marco, what are my rules? What are my goals and what are my rules? What are my intentions? What are the things that I want to get accomplished? That's not fair. If fair is not irrelevant. You want to change your life? Change your life. I love capitalism. I love the fact that all of us have different stories. All of us have different skill sets. One of the reasons we built Access the way we did was Art Williams and Art Williams and Bob and Whittle, Bill Whittle are 2 people. The reason Access was built the way Access was, because Art Williams was 6-time state champion in football. He wrote out 47 letters to all the coaches in the area and said, "I'd like to meet." And like 13 of them said, "Come on down." He recruited 10 of them and built the hierarchy. Because anyone who was involved in athletics, high school athletics in the state of Georgia, knew who Art Williams was. He had a tremendous amount of credibility, and they were going to spend time with him. I was a 22-year-old waiter, $24,000 of credit card debt. I didn't have that. Bill Whittle played for LSU, 6'10", right? Smart guy, involved in the community, all this other stuff. Anyone to talk to, and he'd stand in front of people, go, "Man, all I did was call up these people. They said, come on over." Man, recruiting was the easiest thing in the history of the world. And I'm a 22-year-old waiter with no experience, no one talked to him. I'm like, wait a second, I'm not 6 foot, I'm not this guy, and I'm not that guy. I can't do that. That's not fair. No. Well, part of what we did is, why don't we leverage people's skill sets? We're going to have different resources. Some people come in with a huge market. My wife, listen, if we had access support dialed in to the level that we needed it, we had the licenses and the business-to-business plan dialed in to the level we needed it, I truly believe right now we would have somewhere between 35 and 50 401ks today. Simply by Robin going, oh, now I can go do it. Because she's got 300 business relationships, and every one of them will do whatever she tells them to do, and whether it's introduce them to somebody else in. Well, that's not fair. You're right.
There you go.
I did. Not dumb. That's a competitive advantage. Is that the only way to be successful? See, the problem, the dilemma with us is there's some people that are going to think that's the only way to be successful, and they're going to live on. They're going to plant their flag on that. See, I can't do it because. But no, what we had to do was create a space where someone like that could take advantage of all sorts of things. Because in Sandlot, all of those relationships later are irrelevant. They're all irrelevant. Can any of you imagine, Robin, talking to 12 people a day, like leaving like the law stuff and then going to Target and saying, hey, excuse me, could you help me every day for 12 or 5 years? Might not be the alignment. Now, she's batshit crazy enough to do it, likes people, so she probably would, right? But there's those combinations. Dawn's taught for 20 years, and she knows, like, she's on the PTA, she's a driver, she knows all this stuff. Man, it's not fair. She has, like, connections with the principals and all the people in the school district. Well, that's just not fair. You're right. When Dawn masters the language, the understandings, and system, she has a competitive advantage over most of the people in the room when it comes to a particular market. That's not fair. You're right. Is fair a measurement? It's irrelevant. But I want to give this point. Do I know 300 businesses? No. Did I spend 20 years in Hart School District and know the environment? No. Could I override both of them? Yeah. That's a competitive advantage. See, Tony, you have competitive advantages. And you don't have certain competitive advantages. That's called capitalism. The question is, can you get good at leveraging your skills and putting yourself in a position to attract other people with other competitive advantages and getting them out of their way? Because if I'm threatened by Dawn, I will make Dawn smaller. I will create an environment where Dawn doesn't thrive in an area that I'm threatened. Does this make sense? See, Brett, why are we talking about this right now? We're talking about it because this is how we start figuring out what our actions and our numbers are. Your motivations drive everything. Your results need to be inevitable. Listen, you might go, man, I didn't know anything about financial services. I didn't know anything. Man, can I ever do this? Like I said, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I've got my licenses. So I did that. Well, I went on an appointment. I did that. Well, I can have a conversation, and that makes sense. All of a sudden, someone's interested. They asked the question about, do you have a solution for me if I don't make enough money? Was that the question that was asked?
Yeah.
That means you have the opportunities to recruit. You sat on an appointment and someone said, do you have a plan if we don't have enough cash flow? Do you have a solution for that?
Yeah.
What? What if that person's best friend works for a company with 72 employees and all of a sudden they're talking about setting up a 401k and they don't know who to talk to, and that person was sitting at dinner and they were complaining about not sure what to do, and all of a sudden next week you guys talk and they're like, oh, we can solve that, and because of that conversation, here, well, that's not fair, they just happen to be best friends with someone that, yeah, that's true. It's not fair. Marco, that's not fair. It's not fair that Melissa went on her appointment, asked this question, answered it, and that they happen. Can you see how easy it is to mentally screw yourself over? You're right. Nothing's fair. And you're also right. Every competitive advantage you gotta take advantage of. What is your skill? What are your advantages? And then how do you create a safe space to invite other people to thrive? You all excited?
Yes.
So we start looking at this. So what's going to happen is says, okay, so in the month of September, we have, today's the 22nd. So we have 8 days. So here's the deal. There's going to be a handful of zeros in here. Yeah. Claudia, this number is going to be 0. You know why? You don't have your license. Now, you have 2 choices. You could make this number 0, or you could actually make this number a number and get good at the skill, even though you don't get the credit. That's a personal choice. You can make this number a number, even if you don't have the license, because you can be responsible for finding it. Now, do you get the point? Nope. Right? Why don't I get the point? Because you need the license. Well, that's not fair. Yes, actually it is. Because you don't have a license. Wait, you mean that if you find a couple with $30,000 and you take Dawn on it, Dawn gets the point from your assets? Yes. That's not fair. You're right. Fair is an irrelevant component. Well, then I'm just not going to take Dawn on that. Great. Competition doesn't, everyone says challenges, create character. No, it just exposes it. Part of this is exposing character. Why? Because it's not a life sentence. Some of you are incredibly selfish and insecure. Did y'all know that? Yeah. There are people in this room that are out of control, selfish and insecure. In fact, all of us are out of control, selfish and insecure at some point, at some time, on some topic. Y'all know that? Here's the problem. If you don't know it, you can't address it. Y'all know that? If you hit a moment of incredibly selfish and insecure moment, and you can't acknowledge that in this moment I'm being selfish and insecure, you can't actually fix it. In fact, what most people do in that moment is they defend why they're not selfish and insecure, which you know what it only showcases? Their selfishness and insecurity. And so everyone in the room, everyone in the world knows that in that moment they guess what they're being, incredibly selfish and insecure. Brett, why would you expose that? Because you want to lead people. And part of this is learning. Part of this is deciding who you want to be in moments that are hard. But in that moment, see, the rabbi, the one who is in charge of the congregation, has spent a lifetime being prepared for those moments. There are lots of people who wouldn't have reacted that way, but because they weren't trained to react that way, whether it's overtly or not overtly. Does that make sense? See, we have opportunities when the consequences aren't dire to learn habits and traits that are going to be valuable in moments where the potential consequences were dire. This is what I love about Primerica. This is my Primerica plan. How do we get prepared? How do we confront when the consequences aren't dire so that we're prepared when they are? If you work directly with me ever, I will make you uncomfortable. I will challenge your thinking and enjoy it, which is a sickness. And I thoroughly enjoy it. And the more you freak out, the more I enjoy it. It's a problem. I go to meetings. But then when shifts occur, and you just live your life that way, there's nothing more rewarding. Again, Wade came in today, was talking about an appointment with Dorinda, right? And they were going in, and like, Dorinda's like, okay, we ready to do the business? And Wade's like, take a step back. Like, he fully integrated and embraced what we're doing and how we're doing it, and it was just thriving in it. And Dorinda's like, we gotta go. And Wade's like, oh my God, she was me. And Wade was having this entire conversation. In 2 years worth of our conversations and confronting of thinking was able to be exposed and developed instantly, which fundamentally changed the dynamic with that client that could potentially change Dorinda's business forever. But because of the work and the confrontation of that stuff for the time we did it, when Wade wasn't necessarily thrilled with me a tremendous amount during those moments, but in that moment he did all the work with those conversations with him. So when we talk about this transformation, when we talk about these changes, when we start talking about goals, and we start talking about here's what I want to do, and here's what I want to do, it's going to challenge us. It's going to be really fun, and it's going to suck. And I can stand up here today and we can make this all fun sunshine, and that's all fun. But then the quiet demons get in on the way home, and the fear comes up. I'm like, no, we're going to have the quiet demons. Let's have them in the room. Because moments of crisis will come, and you're prepared or you're not. Moments of opportunities will come. All of us in this room were recruited in an instant. Everyone in this room was recruited in an instant. Don't know that? In an instant. That was a moment of crisis. That was a moment of opportunity. Whoever recruited you said the right thing at the right moment in the right moment for you to hear it. What if they didn't? What if they had a bad day? Right? What if Sue had a bad day so she didn't show up and sit on the couch? That 2.5-hour conversation doesn't occur. You have no idea what was happening to Sue the moment before she walked in. I don't either. But Sue's a professional that says, you know what, it doesn't matter. What matters is, I'm here now, this is where I'm going to be. There's lots of people who don't make that moment. When we start thinking about the things that we want to do, it's about us figuring out how to win our moments. So we talk about, right, where does this work? How do we do this? Well, it goes back to this. See, we introduced this 2 weeks ago, or last week, because we knew that this was coming. See, this is the activity to create the inevitable result. The dilemma is, if we don't care about this, this will not happen. So how many of you care about this? Your ability to say, here's the work I'm doing, here are the people I'm talking to, here's the process, here's where things are at, because this is how, right, we move, right? Brett, how do we get somebody on how do we pick up an IDA? Well, I'm not the brightest guy in the world, but I'm fairly certain it works like this. I'm fairly certain that there's somewhere on our farm system, hot or warm or lukewarm or frozen, We move them to the bullpen. From there, we have a conversation. Why? Because they now can hear us. We ask them, do they like and trust us? Don't ever ask them that way. They heard the story. How do we know they heard the story? Because we just told them, because we got them on the bullpen where they could hear it. We discerned whether or not they thought Primerica could be a positive impact in their life. There are two foundations to that. What are the two foundations to that sentence? One, they have to be open to something. Is that not true?
Yeah.
Then they have to think that Primerica could be that something. Well, Brad, what's a good recruiting appointment? Figuring out if they're open to something. And then figuring out if our something is in alignment with their possible something. What? I thought I had to tell the access gap. Well, you do. But if you don't figure out if they're open to something and you just tell them the access gap, you're talking for you. But if you actually spend a little bit of time and figure out if they're open and the types of things they're open to, then you actually get to present our story in a way that they're open to it. Yeah, I'm a pretty good recruiter. You know why? Because I'll ask you questions, I'll listen to the answer, and then I'll go to my toolbox and go, So you want these three things. Hold on. You want these? Okay, hold on. So you wanted this, this, and this, right? Well, yes, I did. Okay. Now, you don't have to, but it'd be almost irresponsible not to. And if I could give you those three things, it'd almost be irresponsible not to at least explore, wouldn't it?
Is it fair to say that telling them the access gap or telling them our impact story or telling them whatever is not going to make them open if they're not forward?
True.
So a danger can be, I just need to tell this person the access gap and they're going to be interested in what we're doing. But if we haven't crossed that first threshold, if they're open or not, it doesn't make a difference.
So part of it comes down to what is the objective,
right?
Okay. So if I'm working in my baseline, then the first thing I'm doing is I'm introducing what I'm doing. I'm not actually trying to gauge how open they are because I've already gauged how open they are. Right? The key skill that we have to figure out how to access teach, which I haven't completely figured out, is assessment. Because reading and gauging is the key. Not seeing what you want to see because you want to see it. Right? 1 degree more intense is based on an assessment capability. If you want to think that somebody's really interested, you're going to read what they're like. Y'all with me? So that becomes a little bit more of a unique teachable dynamic that we're still figuring out how to break down. But before I'm walking into a situation, I should have a fair idea of where the relationship is. Right? Derek and I went through this yesterday, right? If you think about a recommendation from an active advocate, right? We've got an active advocate that gives you a recommendation. The dynamics of this is really important. So let's say you take active advocate, let's say you say team access, that's you, and let's say the recommender, right? The only way the active advocate is going to recommend this person to you, the only way the active advocate is going to recommend this person to you is they have to believe a couple things. They have to believe that this person is open to something. They have to believe that the something that they're open to could be solved by you. They have to believe that you will treat them in a way that they're proud. Those things have to occur for that dynamic to happen. Well, what does this sound like? Doesn't this sound like a bullpen conversation? And I can trust you. Why? Because it's the transitive property. if this person likes and trusts you, and this person likes and trusts them, then if they recommend them, aren't they going to walk in with an assessment of liking and trusting because of this transitive preparation? So they walk in liking and trusting. Well, if Bill likes you and vouches for you, I'm going to like you. They're an opportunity to hear why. Because the assessment of they're open to something is already established. This makes sense? Y'all look like this is more complicated than I thought it was. Like, I thought this was going to be like the throwaway conversation. Somebody like, can you explain this again? So it's all based on the same conversation. So we walk through, right? So what is a recruiting appointment, right? We go to here. So how do we get an IBA? Well, we have to work our markets. We got to get them to the bullpen. We've got to get to the conversation, and we've got to get good at asking this question and solving for that. If we've got people that are on our scout team, we've got to move them back to advocate and give them a clear picture, because that's going to then feed our bullpen again. So this piece of paper is how we hit our numbers. How many people have you introduced the idea of strategic partner to that you need to move to Allied? How many from Allied to Advocate? How many from Advocate to Active Advocate? Why? Because Active Advocate ultimately is going to feed bullpen. How many people on your now list are you moving to your bullpen? How many people on your then list you move to your now list, so you can move your now list to your bullpen, so you can go have these conversations and check these boxes? When we started this 7 years ago, we said there are three, right? There's what to do, when to do, and the energy to do. And that conversation, that concept becomes overwhelming. And so ultimately what we wanted to do is we wanted to take the what do I do out of the equation. The when do I do it out of the equation. So you still have to have the energy to do it, but these first keys are there. If you get your market dialed in, then we get to sit down and say, okay, what are your goals? I want X number of IBAs. We go back to our factor. I want X number of IBAs. Well, that means you need Y number on your draft board. Anyone not understand what I just said? Tony, do you understand what I just said? What did I just say?
You need the number of IBAs you want. The number of IBAs you have a number of.
Is it the same? It's a factor, right? So if you want 2 IBAs a month, and let's say that you have to have 3 people on your draft board for 1 IBA, how many people do you need on your draft board?
6.
6. Yep.
Well, I think also it's important to realize 2 things. One is that that ratio is going to be different for everybody depending upon skill, and that's not a static number. You can move that number. Like you may need 20 people on your draft board right now to get one IBA if your skill level is low, but that number doesn't have to stay at 20 forever. You can move that number down by increasing your skills over time. It's enough.
So it's a dual factor. It's skill and a lifetime of credibility. Because someone could walk in, a brand new person could walk in with a tremendous amount of credibility, and that number could be 1 out of 1 for the first year. Because they know 1,000 people, and they are the type of people that say, I'm going to go, you need to come, and people are like, let's go. That's not fair. No, it's incredibly fair. And it's important that both spaces are created and that we don't value one over the other. Yes, we can be in charge of growing our skill, but we don't want to place the skill requirement on somebody else's market and experience because they've already cultivated and developed that. Does that make sense? Are you sure? Because it's from an energetic standpoint, it's very easy to get somebody who doesn't need to focus on skill in order to create a tremendous amount of momentum in the beginning, to take the energy away from the competitive advantage they have and turning it into a potentially competitive disadvantage in the short term. We've done that over the last 2 years in our organization. I've done it. Because we were so concentrated on building the structures and the systems, we attracted people with a tremendous amount of influence and credibility in their market that didn't need all of the Access language to go get on a tremendous amount of momentum and a tremendous amount of appointments, and we didn't activate their markets correctly, right, in the time because we were prioritized on other things at that moment. Those are facts that we did in this room. Now, we did it intentionally and purposefully, which doesn't make it better, but at least it makes it aware. Remember, you got to be aware of your inadequacy. You got to be aware of your insecurities or your selfishnesses so you can give language to it so that you can, one, acknowledge why and then potentially change it. Tanya could have 10 people on her team right now based on the market she has. If we would have created the space to say, we're going to put this shit behind us, but let's go get these people in your corner and let's go do that. Chip and Cassie could have 10 people on their team right now based on the people that are interested in Bear Momentum and what was going on, right? Those are all factual, and there's lots of people in this room, right? You guys are sitting on a list of 23 people. We've seen one of them. Those are limitations we as a culture, me as a leader, put on us. Now, we did it intentionally, purposefully to get to a place where we were prepared for this. Now we're prepared for this. Let's go. My goal in this conversation is, yes, we want to drive skill so that the numbers can move. And sometimes, guess what? I don't care how many people I talk to. I was never getting 13 numbers out of talking to 12 people. I got really good at it. Didn't matter. Those were just my numbers. Sue's much nicer to talk to than I am, as it turns out. Statistically proven.
It's a fact. It's science.
It's science. It's a statistically significant sample size. So what? Genuinely. So what? I have different competitive advantages. So what? Man, I can keep people around who don't make any money. That's a hell of a skill. I'm really good at it. I've always been really good at it. So what? Do I take advantage of it? Yeah. It's a huge, important, valuable skill, I believe. Why? Because things aren't always going to go well. Is that what we want to do going forward? No. We want to be making money as much as possible. But you know what? It's a nice tool to help people grow their skills, their development, their resources, so they can go change somewhere else, so that they maintain a relationship here, so that when the timing's right, they're ready to take advantage of it. Man, that's incredibly powerful. So what? What are your skills? What are your attitudes? So when we start looking at this, we start asking ourselves, what do we want? What's the month of October look like? What are your goals? So what I'm going to ask for today is pay attention, watch me, because I want to explain this once, and I don't want to explain this again, and I don't want anyone confused. Is that fair? So I need you to forget what you think I'm about to go say. There's a couple of you that the moment I start talking, you're going to go like, I totally know what you're saying, and you're going to completely miss it, and then it up, and then get mad at me like I didn't explain it.
All right, I'll be quiet.
All right? In your head, though. It's the voice in your head you need to quiet.
Came out.
If you have a number on one of these categories for the month of September, write that number in under goal. If you don't have a number, leave it blank. The only thing I care about this morning is if you're going to participate in this, you write your name in one of the boxes. You don't have to write them in all three. This isn't your piece of paper. It's going to say Mondo and Claudia. You're together. So it doesn't need to say Mondo and Claudia. If you're like, I'm getting my own damn 6 points, great. Do it here. If you want a different colored pen, that's your own deal inside the Mondo and Claudia box. And it can be Claudia Mondo too. I don't care. My job is not to determine which name goes first, which goes back. I don't care. If you want to put Tony and Wendy, put Tony and Wendy. If you want Tony by yourself, put Tony by yourself. I wouldn't write Tony by himself, right? But do whatever you want there.
Did they get 2 shot glasses?
Right? So you have the opportunity to be able to explain what's going on. Make sense? And yes, two lanyards come. So if you write Tanya and Will and you qualify, Tanya and Will both get it as long as Tanya and Will are both going to the convention. So we will ask prior, right? And I love Sue's goal. Sue was like, you know what we do is we just make sure that everyone's registered for the convention prior to getting the lanyard, right? Because you can register in the month of December. And so when you show up, you have to show your registration to be able to get the lanyard. I really like that idea. She didn't actually say that whole thing. I added that part, but she wanted it. She was like, wanted it to be way nicer than mine. She's like, I want it. Why doesn't it count as one of the points? And I'm like, yeah, no, but I like this other one. But Sue had your back, right? We could have gone for the touchdown, right? The extra point can be, right? That 7th point can be you registered for the convention, and there's your 7 points. So what we care about today is your names here. If you have a number, put it in. If you don't have a number, put it on your piece of paper and then get prepared for October.
I have a question that only pertains to some of us. Well, it may pertain to everybody, actually. It's good. Is a code a direct
A direct code.
Okay. No, down, but don't down one.
No. So if you are bringing somebody over that's already licensed, no. Like a new person that you recruited that's going through the hours and quizzes and the licenses.
And you have that scenario.
You do.
So somebody who already has insurance license, like.
If they come in, they're not affiliated with Primerica, that would be a new code. Yes.
A new code.
And an IBA, because they have to turn in an IBA.
Okay, so the reason I asked it, like in your case, is you have got
A husband and wife.
Lisa. Well, yes. So so Lisa is a direct to you, but Jimmy's a direct to her.
Correct.
If that's the way that it's working, that's why I said,
Yeah.
is it a direct code? So the code would, Lisa would count for you, Jimmy
Yeah,
would count for
those stuff.
Yeah, so in that case, because we want, like, that Jimmy would be her first IBA to be able to get her towards the VIP shooting stuff.
Okay, so.
Make sense? Okay,
You want us to put October in there too, or just?
no, just
September.
September. And only if you have a number. Do not feel compelled or obligated to do anything other than put your name, and you don't even need to be compelled or obligated for that. And you can sign up at any time. You can do that. So if you don't want to sign up today and say you're going to do this, but you want to sign up on the 30th of December, and you've got 6 IBAs you're turning in on the 31st of December, you're asking come, right? This isn't like, but this is like you saying, I want to be a part of this, and I'm going to challenge myself to be a part of it.
Do you have any more copies of that sheet right there?
I didn't get that one there. Not here, that's-
We had all these zeros in.
No, don't put zero.
Don't put anything.
If it's not, don't put a zero, if you don't wanna create a bunch of zeros on your thing, just leave it blank.
Just call them donuts.
Because the only way you have a zero is you didn't have a number.
Just
I don't
use
have any code. That could.
No,
We're just doing September.
just September.
Just based on whatever your activity is now.
Guys, please, we're almost done with this. Fight your emotions over the next 90 days. Don't not come
We can go last.
when things that you wanted to have happen don't happen.
Yes.
Don't run from this. Help us create it. We will be talking about this forever. This is the type of thing that, look, 6 months and a year from now, we won't spend 7 different meetings on making sure we have a number on a goal like that. Like we're over, but this is a shift in consciousness. This is a shift in objective. This is a culture creation that's being created, not just a contest. Help us with this. Work together. We can work together. Look, we're here. You come. You show up with your numbers and say, "How do I do it?" Right? Come to my office. We can sit down. Right? Everyone in this was designed for everyone to get this done. And to be honest with you, this was designed for everyone to get this done prior to November 1. If we want to have some real fun, we've all got this shit done by November, and now November and December, there's 5 people in the room playing for number 1, and there's brand new people that are coming in saying, "This is what." Just play with me for the last 30 seconds on this. Let's just say that at the back of the board, right, it's the month of October, and everyone in this room has their 6 points by the end of November or end of October. Y'all with me? And in October, we recruit 4 or 5 people, and we introduce this contest, and they're talking about it. The 4 or 5 brand new or 10 people that are coming in, do you think they're going to be focused on their hours and quizzes, or are they going to be focused on being a VIP shooting star? Which one do you think is going to happen? Shooting the VIP. But let's say that there's one number here, and there's 1 or 2 people that have got 2 or 3 points here, maybe, and then we recruit these people in November. Do you think that they're going to be focused on being a VIP shooting star? Or are they just going to be like, well, man, let me at least get my hours and quizzes done, and I don't know, maybe I can get 1 number. We are setting what the expectations are based on what it is that we do.
The biggest raise you'll ever get in any job that you have is when you move to a new job, right? So the reason why that relates to the conversation that you're having is whatever we set as the standard is the base point for what you're talking about for the people that comes in.
Okay.
So do we want to set it that we're starting a standard of $100,000 a year job or 15?
Yes. And we got to do it together. We got to put it together. All of us. We all matter. So let's have some fun. Let's let them know what it's all about. Oh, where are my sheets?